Hi there, hope you're well. So the workshop makeover marches on, and in this video we're going to be dealing with the bench tops. I'm going to change this up. If you saw the previous video, you'll have seen that I started cutting up the old bench tops to use as some of the soundproofing, and that's you know, an excellent use for a 15-year-old piece of MDF, I think. I'm always fairly practical about bench tops. I know some people do love a bench that's like your grandmother's dining table. I tend to treat them as semi-disposable. You know, you change them out every 15 years or so, whether you need to or not, and these definitely do need changing out and have done for a little while. The benches are going to be principally this corner. The MFT is going to be done in a separate video, and the router bench is going to be dealt with in a separate video as well, because they're going to change quite substantially. So it's really just that little rundown there that I've used before, and this corner. The only sort of slightly entertaining part of this will be this lift up section of the bench, which will need a little bit of extra attention. But before we get to any of that, I need to clear the rest of this away and get those bench tops up and out of there. There's a few carefully positioned screws that need to be removed, well, first found, then removed. And then the tops can be lifted away, making sure that I unthread all the cables first. So that was the easy bit. Before we get too far into getting the tops on or digging into this extra little piece here, I just wanted to talk about the subframe a little bit. There's an awful lot written and videoed and talked about benches and subframes and how it's got to be sturdy and robust and everything else. And this is about as simple as you can get. Just some bits of 5x2 and 6x2 sawn timber screwed into a brick wall, and with, you know, 3x3 75mm square legs just literally screwed through a couple of 100 great screws. And these have been here for, you know, close to 20 years. If you think about what it is you want from a bench, you want it to be stable, obviously, which this is, and you want it to be flat, obviously, which this is, and you want it to be relatively easy to replace, which a sheet of 18mm MDF is. I'm going to replace it with something a little bit prettier because of the video sort of stuff, but if it wasn't for that, I'd just be slapping down another sheet of MDF, to be perfectly honest. Effectively, I'm just using a slightly fancier piece of MDF. We'll get to that in a bit. I'm going to start prizing off these little bits here. I seem to remember that these are just glued on, so fingers crossed they'll come off with a deft blow with a hammer. But I'll go on with that, and once that's all off and cleared, then we can start talking about what it is I'm actually going to put down. The glue actually held pretty firm, and it was the MDF that split away from the frame, leaving bits behind that needed cleaning up with a chisel and then a hand plane. This section was always a bit wide, so I trimmed 150mm or so off it and reattached the leg sections with exactly the same screws. Could have been made for it. Goodness. It's one of those YouTube life things that wherever you go, whatever you do, there'll be a camera in the way. This is what I'm using for the bench tops. There are a couple of main brands of coloured all the way through MDF. Valchromat is a common one. Comes in standard 8x4 sheets, 2440 by 1220, and there's another one called Fibracolor, which is what this is, which comes in much bigger sheets, which makes it a little bit cheaper. Cheaper being the main point here, because obviously in the current climate we all know how much material costs have gone up, and 2 sheets of this cut and delivered to the sizes that I need for all the benches in here is close to 400 quid. So it's not something you're going to be doing every year. You know, as long as it's only once every 15 years, I'll be absolutely fine. One thing to watch out for with the Fibracolor is that if you buy the black, it only comes in 8x4s, 2440 by 1220. So if you particularly want black, just bear that in mind. This is why I've gone for the dark grey, the anthracite, because it comes in, excuse me, because it comes in a much bigger sheet, almost the size of an egger board, 2850 by 2100, I think. Don't quote me on that, but you know, a big old sheet, and it meant that I could get all the benches out of 2 sheets with a fair bit to spare. So looking pretty good. I've got most of these cut pretty much to the exact size. This one I know I'll need to trim a little bit, but I'll offer it up, trim it down and get it in. But this is how it's going to look. Pretty smart, pretty happy with it. I'll put a couple of screws down through it just to locate it, probably at the back edge, but I don't really need to do any more than that. So yeah, first time I've actually seen it, you know, in situ, looking pretty good. I'll get the other bits in, and then we'll start thinking about nailing them down. So not bad for the first couple of hours. Got the 3 main benches in and fitted. Bit of work to do, obviously. This one's pretty good. This one, I will put a couple of dominoes or something in there just to marry them up a bit better. I can chalk up the base a little bit, but I also have some cutouts to do in the end one to get the cables and the hoses and things through. And there's a little bit of paintwork touch-up that I need to do over there, which probably makes sense to do before we fix the benches in place permanently. But yeah, you know, for the first couple of hours, not bad. I decided to add a few dominoes where the 2 boards join, and then I can use the old top as a template for the hole position and drill it out. Because it's a snug fit, the top has to be lifted at the left-hand end to make the dominoes connect, and then it's onto the lift up top. I've cut sections of offcuts to the same depth front to back, but varied the width so I have enough of a gap between them for the clamp heads, and these are just glued on with a 5-minute PU adhesive. The previous ones lasted the best part of 20 years, so I'm sure these will be fine as well. So there we are. I think I'll call that one done for today. Not too bad. About 3 hours or so just to get 3 complete bench tops in. Not completely finished yet, of course. I do want to get a coat of finish of some kind on it, which will probably darken it down a little bit further. I'm not sure what that finish will be, whether that's going to be a wax or a lacquer, but I'll probably do that as a member video. I do find, obviously, the darker bench tops really help in terms of video production, but I do find them very useful as I get older. The contrast between the bench top and the workpiece really helps being able to see things clearly. So even if you don't go for the fancy Fibracolor, I think the previous Benchtops, like these older ones, just with a coat of dark stain on and then a coat of finish on top of that, really helped me. Really helped me to sort of see clearly, and seeing clearly is one of the very important things to have in the workshop. But I'll call this one done for now. Thanks so much for taking a look. Thanks as always to my YouTube members and Patreon supporters whose conversations and contributions really do help me to keep the lights on here and help me to produce the videos that I do. But that's it for this one. Thanks for taking a look. I'll see you in the next one very soon when I'll be talking about lighting. All right, take care.